The Detailed Costs tab can be used by economists and other costing experts for a more fine-grained look at costs of PrEP. To start with, one needs to go to B5 and change the default from using Costs Light to using Detailed Costs. This lets the broader tool know which page to draw from. Now we can start looking at the factors that influence the costs of PrEP. One of the major elements of PrEP costs are those related to the staff time associated with PrEP delivery. You can see here that we've provided some defaults on the amount of time it takes for PrEP delivery at both initiation and continuation visits in various circumstances, whether it's by population or service delivery mode. Additionally, we give country-specific salary estimates for different types of professional codes. And these are editable here. So you can make changes here if you have updated information on the salaries for different types of professionals delivering PrEP. So now we need to consider our particular program and think about who is delivering PrEP in terms of personnel. And is this consistent across the project, or is there variation based on different types of approaches for delivering PrEP, such as by different types of clinics or facilities, or based on geography, or some other feature where the costs will be varying and you want to account for that variation in this tool. An example here, I'm going to say there's strategy 1, which is public facilities. You can see there's some additional guidance there as well. And the second one is mobile teams. And now we want to think about who's delivering PrEP in each of these strategies. So I'm going to use this drop-down menu here, and we'll pull up the default. And mobile teams. I'm going to say that these are mostly for my key populations, so select that here. So it automatically pulls in the default minutes for both the initiation and continuation visits. And now we can make adjustments here. So we could say, yes, we're using all these types of professionals, or maybe we want to change things around and do task shifting here. So that is another option to look into. I'm going to go ahead and keep these defaults and move on to the next section. In this section, default laboratory test costs have been provided, but these can be adjusted for your specific program. And additionally, there are 2 custom lab tests that you can add. Then, using the drop-down menu in column D, you can indicate the required labs during an initiation visit by selecting to yes. So I'm going to make some selections here. And note that there are typically more labs during an initiation than continuation. Next, you can think about continuation visit and which labs are done at that time. And you can have more than one type of continuation visit. So in this case, I'm going to say at each continuation, there's an HIV test and a pregnancy test. But then at the 6-month visit, there is a creatinine test. So I'll create a second type of continuation visit, one that also has additional testing. And there's room for up to 5 different types of continuation visits with regards to the labs that are used. Then you apply those visits to build a visit schedule. So after initiation, you indicate the months where there are continuation visits and what type of continuation visit it is. And maybe this varies and there's more than one type of schedule. So I'm going to create a second schedule that has visits every other month. Next, for each of the strategies that you identified above, you select what schedule they're on. So I've selected Schedule 1 here for my public facilities, and this second schedule for my mobile teams. So they may be rotating through every other month in this instance. And next, I need to allocate my priority populations to which of these strategies that they're being serviced by. Some priority populations may only be reached with one strategy, while others may be reached by multiple strategies. So in this case, I'm going to say that all of my serodiscordant couples are reached through public facilities. All my FSWs and MSM are reached through mobile teams. And then for my AGYW, I'm going to say it's a mix of both the public facilities and mobile teams. Now we can move on to the cost categories. We start with cost per person month on PrEP. For each strategy, these are ARV costs and adherence support costs. So I'm going to put in for my scenario $10 in ARV costs. I'm going to say I have 0 for adherence support in public facilities, but that there are costs associated with this in my mobile teams. Now we move on to pre-initiation costs. These are the costs associated with people who were screened for PrEP but did not initiate PrEP, either due to their own preferences or to lack of eligibility. If you filled out the initiation tab, this ratio of pre-initiation to initiations will already be filled in and you can edit them. If you've not filled out the initiation tab, you have to estimate the ratio of pre-initiations to initiations. So I'm going to say here as an estimate for every one person who initiates, there's one person who was screened but did not initiate. And I'll say the same for our mobile teams. Notice that the HIV rapid test costs are already accounted for. And next we need to estimate the personnel costs for each strategy. These may be the same or they may differ by strategy. Now we can move down to the costs per visit, both initiation visits and continuation visits, and these are excluding ARV costs that we've already specified. Additionally, we've already specified the lab costs when we looked at the lab schedule. So what we need to enter are the percent receiving a pregnancy test for each strategy. And I'm putting 50% for both the initiation and continuation visits. Next, you can see that the information for costs for personnel, other recurrent, overhead, and capital costs have already been estimated based on the personnel minutes and staff salaries that were previously specified. If one wants to adjust the percentages that determine the overhead and capital costs, these can be adjusted in column M. Moving down, now we can look at annual lump sum costs. So these are not costs by visit, but rather annual costs, which could be above site, demand creation costs, training, or other fixed costs. I'm going to enter some costs here. And now we can look at the results. First, we see the annual unit costs excluding annual lump sums. The lump sum costs are accounted for in the total costs on the results dashboard, but they're not included in the unit costs specified here. You can see our unit costs per person to stay on PrEP for an entire year by strategy, as well as the cost per person to stay on PrEP for an entire year, and the cost per person initiated by priority population. The cost per person initiated is typically lower than the cost per person for an entire year because it factors in the continuation rates specified on the continuation tab, where individuals typically take PrEP for less than 1 year. Additionally, one can see the cumulative unit cost per person month on PrEP, excluding annual lump sums, by both service delivery strategy and by priority population. Because initiation visits are typically more expensive than continuation visits, you can see that the longer one is on PrEP, the lower the monthly costs tend to be. And this is also graphically represented here. So that's all that's needed for this tab. Results are further linked to the results dashboard. Thanks for watching.